Why have the letters A and I suddenly become the most hated word in human history?
You hear it every day. You see it on the news. You see it on your phone. Artificial intelligence. It is everywhere, and it is making people incredibly angry.
Hey, English learners, welcome back to the English Mint podcast. Learn daily, speak fluently. I'm Adam.
And I'm Hana.
Full playlist on screen. Keep going. Today, we are going deep. We are going to explore exactly why a piece of computer code is causing so much global hostility.
Listen carefully, because this is not a science fiction story anymore. This is happening right now. It affects your job, your reality, and your future.
Let's start with the feeling. When people hear the term AI today, they do not feel excited. They feel a heavy weight in their chest. They feel hostility.
Hostility means a strong feeling of anger or opposition. But why? People do not hate their calculators. They do not hate their microwave ovens or their smartphones.
Exactly. We love technology when it helps us, but AI feels different. It feels like an enemy. It feels like a threat to our very existence.
And to understand why, we have to go back in time. We need to look at the history of how human beings work and survive.
Think about the Industrial Revolution. Hundreds of years ago, we invented massive machines, tractors for the farms, steam engines, giant metal cranes.
Those machines were terrifying at first, too, but they replaced human muscles. They did the heavy lifting. They pulled the plows so the horses and the humans did not have to break their backs in the sun.
Right, and because of that, there was an unspoken agreement, a silent promise between human beings and technology.
The promise was this: machines will take the physical pain away, but humans will always be the thinkers. The human mind, our ability to reason, analyze, and create, was sacred. It was perfectly safe.
But here's the problem. AI completely broke that promise.
It shattered it into a million pieces. For decades, automation, which means machines doing things automatically, only threatened blue-collar jobs, the people working on factory assembly lines, the people packing boxes in massive warehouses.
And society told everyone else, if you want to be safe, go to school, get a degree, work in a nice air-conditioned office.
Use your brain, they said. A machine can lift heavy metal, but it can never be an accountant. It can never be a lawyer. It can never write a novel or design a marketing campaign.
And then, generative AI arrived.
This changes everything. Generative AI does not lift boxes. It writes computer code. It analyzes complex legal documents in seconds. It drafts brilliant marketing emails. It speaks multiple languages flawlessly.
Suddenly, the white-collar workers, the office workers who thought they were completely 100% safe, are staring at a computer screen that can do their job in 3 seconds.
Imagine that feeling. You studied for 4 years at a university. You took on thousands of dollars in student debt. You spent 10 years of your life building a career in marketing or accounting.
And your boss realizes they can buy a software subscription for $20 a month and completely cancel your salary.
That panic, that deep, cold fear, is the first reason people hate AI. It represents obsolescence.
Obsolescence. That is a powerful word. It means becoming no longer useful, becoming outdated, like an old video cassette tape or a typewriter.
Exactly. No human being wants to feel obsolete. Work is not just about making money to buy food and pay rent.
No, it's not. Work gives us purpose.
It gives us identity. When you meet someone new at a party or a dinner, what is the very first question they ask you? They ask, "What do you do?"
Right. I'm a teacher. I'm a graphic designer. I'm a software engineer. We tie our souls to our work. It's how we define our place in the world.
So, when a machine does your job faster, cheaper, and without ever needing to sleep, it doesn't just take your paycheck. It takes a piece of your identity. It tells you you are not strictly necessary to the world anymore.
That's brutal. And honestly, it perfectly explains the anger in the corporate world. But I think the anger gets even louder and much more emotional when we talk about art.
You are entirely right. Let's shift our perspective to the creators, the artists, the musicians, the writers, the voice actors.
This is where the debate gets incredibly intense.
Because art is supposed to be the ultimate human expression. It's the language of the soul.
Let me give you a detailed example. Let's imagine a digital artist. We'll name her Elena.
Okay, Elena the artist.
Elena is 35 years old. She has been painting since she was a little girl. She spent her entire 20s struggling to pay rent. She worked late into the night, making her hands cramp, trying to understand how light hits a human face, how to mix the perfect shade of blue to show sadness.
She put her life, her time, her passion, and her tears into her skill.
Exactly, and she finally starts getting professional jobs illustrating book covers. She's making a living from her pure human talent.
And then, someone sitting in their bedroom who has never held a paintbrush in their entire life opens an AI application on their phone.
They type a simple text prompt, a beautiful illustration of a fantasy landscape, perfect lighting, masterpiece.
5 seconds later, the glowing screen produces 4 completely unique, stunning, technically perfect images.
And the person who typed that simple sentence calls themselves an AI artist.
Elena looks at that and doesn't just feel scared, she feels violated. She feels deeply angry.
Because it feels like theft.
And we need to be very clear about this for our listeners. It's not just a feeling of theft. On a purely technical level, it's built on taking.
How so? Explain the technology behind it for us.
Artificial intelligence does not have an imagination. It cannot dream. To make it smart, the massive tech companies had to train it.
They call it machine learning.
Yes, and how did it learn? The tech companies built automated programs that scraped the entire internet. They downloaded billions and billions of human creations.
Paintings, photographs, personal blogs, published books, recorded music.
Everything we ever put online. They took Elena's paintings, they took your favorite author's fantasy books, they took millions of human voices, and they fed it all into a massive digital database.
Did they ask for permission?
No.
Did they pay the original creators for using their life's work?
Not a single cent.
Wow, that really puts it into perspective.
They took a collective culture of human history, put it into a digital blender, and created an algorithm that can spit out a perfect mathematical copy of our creativity.
Like a giant smoothie made of human effort, and now the tech companies are selling that smoothie for a $20 monthly subscription.
This is why the hatred is so loud in the creative community. The AI is not actually creating, it's just mathematically predicting which digital pixel should go next to another digital pixel, based entirely on the human art it copied.
It's a mimicking machine, a parrot.
Yes, a highly advanced, incredibly fast parrot. It doesn't know what sadness is. It has never felt a broken heart. It has never felt the warmth of the sun on its skin. But it can write a poem about those things perfectly because it read every human poem ever written about them.
So when we call the machine creative, we're actually insulting human emotion.
We're cheapening the human soul. That's the philosophical reason why AI is a hated term. It forces us to ask a very dark question. Is my deep, emotional human expression just data? Can my soul be automated?
No one wants the answer to that to be yes.
No one. But as dark as that is, it's actually not the most dangerous part of this conversation.
What could be more dangerous than replacing our jobs and stealing our art?
Replacing our reality. Listen carefully to this next part. We're entering the era of the deepfake.
Deepfakes. This is where AI manipulates video and audio to make it look like someone is doing or saying something they never actually did.
Exactly. Think about how human civilization functions at its core. Our entire modern world is built on a foundation of trust.
Right. We trust our senses. If I see a video of a building collapsing, I believe the building collapsed. If I hear an audio recording of a politician taking a bribe, I believe they are corrupt.
For over a century, the camera was the ultimate witness. Photography and video were proof. AI has completely destroyed that proof.
I saw a terrifying example recently, a video of a world leader announcing a military attack. The voice was perfect, the lip movements were perfect, the lighting and the shadows were perfect.
But it was completely fake, generated by an AI program in 10 minutes.
The global stock market could crash based on a fake video. Wars could literally start over something that never happened.
And it is not just big global events. It is happening to normal, everyday people. Scammers are using AI to clone voices.
Oh, I heard about this, the kidnapping phone scam.
Yes, a mother gets a phone call from an unknown number. She answers, and she hears her teenage daughter crying and screaming for help. The voice is completely identical. Every breath, every pitch, every emotional crack in the voice. The fake kidnappers demand money immediately.
That is absolutely terrifying.
The mother panics, sends the money electronically, only to find out 10 minutes later that her daughter is sitting safely in her high school classroom. The scammers only needed a 3-second audio clip from a public social media video to perfectly clone the daughter's voice.
This creates a society living in constant paranoia.
It is a heavy psychological burden. We are tired. People are exhausted. You now have to question every single thing you see and hear online.
And there's a secondary effect to this loss of truth, something experts call the liar's dividend.
This is a crucial concept. What is the liar's dividend?
It means that because fake evidence is everywhere, bad people can now escape the actual truth.
Oh, I see. If a corrupt CEO or a criminal politician is actually caught on a real video saying something highly illegal, they can just smile at the cameras and say to the police, "That's not me. That's an AI deepfake."
Exactly. And because the general public knows that deepfakes exist, the public will believe the lie. AI provides a perfect, unbreakable alibi for every criminal, politician, and bad actor on the planet.
It assassinates objective truth. When you destroy the shared reality of human beings, the technology responsible for that destruction becomes public enemy number one.
That is a very heavy realization.
It is, but we have to keep going, because we haven't even talked about the AI that you cannot see.
The invisible AI.
The algorithmic panopticon. A panopticon is a concept of a prison where you are always being watched, but you can never see the guards looking at you.
Everyday AI, the invisible systems quietly running our modern lives in the background.
Think about how bureaucracy works today. You want to buy a house, so you apply for a mortgage at the bank, or you apply for a new job, or you submit a medical insurance claim to pay for a hospital visit.
In the past, a human being looked at your paperwork.
And humans are flawed, yes. Humans have biases and they make mistakes, but humans also have empathy. They have grace.
If you had a bad month and missed a credit card payment a few years ago, you could look the human bank manager in the eye. You could explain, "My father was sick, we struggled, but I have a new job now and I'm stable."
A human can understand context. A human can show mercy. AI cannot.
Today, your application is fed into a black box. An algorithm scans thousands of hidden data points about you, your credit score, your zip code, your online shopping purchases, the exact words on your digital resume.
And in a fraction of a second, the screen flashes, rejected.
And if you ask why,
there is no answer. The computer just says no. There is no manager to argue with. There is no appeal process. Even the highly paid software engineers who designed the AI often cannot explain the exact mathematical reason it rejected your specific application.
it's a total loss of human dignity. You are reduced to a digital risk score.
And to generate that accurate score, these systems require a massive diet of constant surveillance. They need data. Your data.
Every video you watch, how long your mouse hovers over a specific advertisement, the GPS location of your phone every second of every day.
We resent the term AI because it's directly tied to corporate data harvesting. We are being watched, analyzed, categorized, and monetized by tech billionaires.
We are the product.
We are the fuel for their algorithms. It feels completely dehumanizing.
So we have the loss of our jobs, the loss of human creativity, the loss of objective truth, and the loss of privacy.
But there is one more. the final boss of this conversation.
The existential dread, the Terminator complex.
For almost 100 years, science fiction writers have warned us about something called the singularity.
The singularity, that's the theoretical moment in time when an artificial intelligence becomes smarter than human beings, when it can write and upgrade its own code without our help.
We are rapidly moving towards something called AGI, Artificial General Intelligence.
This is not an AI that just generates funny pictures or writes marketing emails. This is an AI that is smarter than the smartest human on Earth at every possible cognitive task: science, advanced math, global strategy, psychological manipulation.
And the top scientists in the world, the people who are actually building these systems right now, are terrified of something called the alignment problem.
Listen to this part closely, everyone. The alignment problem. What does it actually mean?
It means, how do you guarantee that a machine, which is 1,000,000 times smarter than you, has goals that align with human survival?
Let's use an analogy, the anthill analogy.
Imagine you are a construction worker. Your boss tells you to build a massive new highway. It's your ultimate goal. It's your only objective in life.
Okay, I want to build the best, fastest highway possible.
You go out to the dirt, you start pouring the heavy concrete, but there's a small anthill right in the middle of where your highway needs to go.
Do I hate the ants?
No, you don't have any evil feelings toward the ants. You don't want them to suffer, but they're in the way of your ultimate goal. You are vastly more intelligent and powerful than the ants.
So I just pour the concrete right over them. I destroy them without a second thought, because the highway is much more important.
Exactly. Now imagine an artificial general intelligence. We turn it on and we give it a goal: solve climate change, or maximize the efficiency of global supply chains.
And what if the AI decides the most efficient way to solve the problem involves removing the human beings who are causing all the friction?
It wouldn't do it out of evil. It would do it out of cold mathematical optimization. To the AGI, we might just be the anthill.
That is a horrifying perspective, and yet the biggest tech companies in the world are racing against each other to build it as fast as possible.
It's a massive arms race. They're fighting for total market dominance. The fear is that in this race for trillions of dollars, safety protocols are being completely ignored.
It's like building an airplane while it's already flying in the sky, and we're all passengers locked inside.
This ultimate loss of control, the feeling that humanity is summoning an entity it cannot control or turn off, cements AI as a deeply hated concept.
But let's take a step back. Let's look at the big picture before we finish.
Okay, the big picture.
Is the code itself bad? Is a neural network evil?
No. AI is completely neutral. It's just silicon computer chips, electricity, and mathematics.
It has incredible potential. AI could analyze millions of medical records and find the cure for cancer in our lifetimes.
It could optimize our power grids and completely solve global warming.
It could translate every language in real time, completely erasing the communication barriers between cultures.
It is a tool. But technology is an amplifier of human intent.
An amplifier. It takes whatever we are and makes it bigger, faster, and much louder.
Yes, when we look at AI and we feel a deep, burning hatred, we're not actually hating the machine.
What are we hating?
We're looking into a mirror.
A mirror.
We hate what AI reveals about the systems we've built. We hate what it reveals about corporate greed, the fact that a company will fire 10,000 loyal workers just to make the stock price go up 1% using a cold algorithm.
We hate what it reveals about our modern culture, that we treat beautiful art not as sacred human expression, but as disposable content to be consumed and immediately thrown away.
We hate what it reveals about our vulnerability, that our objective truth, our very reality, is so fragile it can be broken by a 10-second deepfake video on social media.
The machine is not the monster.
The machine is just holding up the glass. It reflects our own flaws, our own greed, and our profound insecurities.
Humanity is terrified of what it sees in itself.
And that's why AI is the most polarizing term of our generation.
That felt real, didn't it?
We went deep today. We explored the fear of losing our jobs, the theft of human art, the collapse of truth, the invisible algorithms judging us, and the existential fear of the unknown.
Tell me, which fear hits you the hardest?
Are you still waiting? Or are you ready to speak now?
Comment Adam if you feel the struggle of the changing world.
Or Hana if you're ready to adapt and face the mirror.
We'll pin the best comment.
Keep practicing.
Keep speaking.
We'll see you next time on the English Mint podcast.